Hey guys, it's me, Tyler, from Turtles with Guns, and it's Halloween. It's currently 11:14 at night, and we're gonna read some spooky stories. Okay, so today we're reading spooky stories on Reddit, almost at midnight. Let's just get right into it. Okay, let's see this one. A week home alone. I was home alone for a week while my parents were out on vacation. I thought that it was awesome since I'm only child with 2 dogs and a beautiful girlfriend. I was downstairs in the basement when suddenly I heard a loud bang. I rushed upstairs to find the contents of the freezer was now on the ground. I assumed it was just something in the freezer that caused it to open since we have a lot of stuff in the freezer. Later that night, I invited my girlfriend over for some pizza and a movie. In the middle of the movie, the TV started to turn off and on. I thought it was her, and I asked her to stop, but she said she didn't have the remote. She was right. The remote was on the table, so I thought it had to do with the power company since I had no knowledge of how that would work. Since it was so late that night, I asked her to stay because I didn't want her driving home so late at night. In the middle of the night, she woke me up concerned that there was something in my closet because she heard something loud crash in there. Me thinking that my closet rod for the clothes fell down. This is just, it's difficult to read. If anything, the bad grammar is scaring me more than the actual story. For my clothes fell down. I went to fix it. Then I opened it and saw a man that looked to be about in his mid-40s sitting in my closet, crouched down. He lunged at me and I punched him square in the nose. He got up and ran over to my window and jumped through it, glass and all. I looked out what was left of my window and watched him run down the street. I called the cops immediately. They still haven't found him, and I haven't seen him since. Dude, that is... Ooh. Oh, I have an entire room behind me, and it's dark in this room right now. And there's a closet right there, perfect place for people to hide. There's a window sitting right there. It's not good. I have the back to the rest of the room. In my previous setup, I had my back to the wall. There was nothing behind me, but now there's plenty of room. That story was by U Smith. Yeah, that's his username if you want to check it out. Next one, shadow figures. Standing in the side alleyway next to her job, Aurora smokes a blunt and takes in every second of her short break, something she hardly got. There was not much going on besides a large print production that was more of waiting game than anything. Keeping a third of it, Aurora slips the blunt behind her ear and makes her way back inside. There's no one on the floor. The rest of her co-workers were sitting at their desks doing their own thing. She takes it upon herself to work on part of the production, feeling the need to be productive. As Aurora stands on the work table, tabbing out some of the documents, she hears someone whisper her name. That's not a good sign. No one in their right mind does that, unless they are trying to scare you. It's like, hey, it's free real estate. As Aurora stands at the work table, okay, there she was. She looked up to see if it was one of the other 2 girls, but they were nowhere in sight. She shrugs it off. Why would you do that? Hey, someone called my name and whispered, but I don't care, you know? I just gotta get back to work. Gotta get that grind. Thinking about how she hadn't seen either of them in a while anyways, but the voice had been so clear. After a couple of minutes, she hears it again. This time it was louder and sounded like more than one voice. She snapped her head up. Still, No Sophia or Michelle. Then across the room, she sees a shadowy figure dart past the entryway of the printing department next door. She assumes it's one of her other coworkers trying to find something. I don't remember seeing anyone get up from their desk, she thought. Confused, but not worried, she lets it go. She continues tabbing out the job, entering her own world, waiting for her shift to be over. Time was moving in slow motion. Saying goodnight, Michelle walked past her, coming from the bathroom. Aurora doesn't even remember seeing her walk back there. After getting her purse, Michelle starts making her way out. She was generally the first one to leave. The other girl, one of Aurora's best friends, Sophia, was standing at the main computer checking emails. Again, she sees the figure. Only there were more behind it, all looking directly at her. She could feel it. The sound of her name began echoing through her head, the shadowy figures remaining in the doorway. Then seconds later, they were gone. Oh, lost my place. Without hesitating, Aurora drops what's in her hands and starts walking across the room. She ignores Sophia's curious questions, barely even hearing them, and keeps going, walking right into the pitch-black department, nearly tripping up the stairs. There were no figures. She was alone. Aurora is still able to hear her name. She glanced around the room, seeing nothing. She goes to turn back towards her department, unsure why she even had done that in the first place. As she turns her body, the room starts spinning, her head grows heavy, and she starts to lose her balance. Unable to stand any longer, she is able to make it to the closet computer chair, seeing the outline of it in the dark. As soon as her butt touched the surface of the chair, it begins to spin uncontrollably. Gripping the edges of it, she opens her eyes, and all around her were the black figures staring at her from the room afar. The chair spins faster and faster, more figures appearing from nowhere. They were surrounding her, getting closer and closer. Aurora felt like she was hallucinating, experiencing her first bad high. I'm okay, everything's fine, this isn't real, there's no way it's real, she says to herself. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I think she was just smoking a blunt and then got really high, and then it was dark, and her mind started playing tricks on her. I think that's actually what was happening, if this story was true. But for the spookiness of the story, let's just say it was ghosts. Aurora, the voices whispered, speaking at different times. They repeat her name over and over, getting louder each time they spoke. Unable to control the thoughts running through her mind, she shuts her eyes and throws her hands over her ears, blocking it all out. A few minutes go by, and she wonders if she is safe. Thinking she is, Aurora slowly opens her eyes and removes her hands. There was nothing there. And then, all at once, as if they were waiting for her, they reappeared, screeching into the air, sending goosebumps all up and down her arms. She notices their eyes were glowing, a deep red. Something she knows she will never forget. They were closing in on her, never blinking, never closing their mouths. Aurora threw her arms up and over her head, protecting herself. She jerked up in the chair, letting out a small scream, and finally seeing that she is okay, she relaxes. As she is taking a deep breath to calm down, Sophia runs up the stairs, flicks on the lights, and quickly walks over to Aurora. Are you okay? She asks, genuine concern in her voice. Aurora nods her head. Yeah, man, I'm cool. I thought that I saw something, and I guess I scared myself, she responds, getting out of the chair and following Sophia back to her own department, planning to never tell the truth. Okay, that one was okay. The spook factor was kind of lost because it was like, oh, she was just smoking a blunt. I think we'll do maybe 2 more because it's getting too spooky. Trick or Treat, they don't look under the sheet by you/Nowhere Alone. I don't know. I'm having an aneurysm trying to read that. Okay, this is a fairly shorter one. He wears the same ridiculous costume every year, a ratty blank off-white tablecloth that hangs much too low on his body, scraping the dirt with poorly scribbled, hollow black circles for eyes. The appearance isn't quite memorable by itself, only in the quality and the character of the way it moved. I saw him, every year, come across the lawn just as the sun set behind the hill, bathing our house in an ominous violet shadow, moving towards me, but never seeming to demonstrate any actual steps forward. It was bizarre, inhuman sensation, one that I never quite grew accustomed to, moving but unmoving, crossing ground like he was being pulled along by a string. There was something else too, something I noticed on our first meeting 4 years ago when I held out our plastic Rite Aid jack-o'-lantern bucket and watched as the sheet came forward where a hand should have been, removed a portion of the treats, and buried them under the drab cloth. He smelled. It was a unique stench, wet mud and spoiled milk, raw meat left on the counter, putrid, nauseating, indescribable mostly, except that I never forgot it. It was there, always there. When that boy visited each Halloween, it lingered too, for hours, even after he left, like it poisoned the very air around him. It was always the same, every time, every Halloween, except for last year. I haven't been able to tell anyone, not until today, not even my wife. She doesn't care much about Halloween. She doesn't like to see the kids anymore, not since our son died. She stays downstairs until it's over. I don't think she knows about any of it. Last year, curiosity got the better of me. I did something that I shouldn't have. I was ready for the boy that day. I waited. I watched. I knew when he would arrive. The perilous rolling back black dusk where the world seemed to stop and anything was possible. He came just as he always did, just as a dead chill came down from the hill and shrieked against our house. He crossed the yard, motionless, as he always was, his tattered cloth unmoving. I opened the front door and smiled, happy to see my silent friend, wildly anxious to finally discover what could have possibly been beneath that strange fabric all of these years. I thrust the bucket in front of me like some sort of offering. When it moved, I moved faster. I grabbed the sheet right at the crown of the head and pulled down, wrenching it free in a violent swirl. She didn't move. She didn't try to hide. It was my wife, wearing my dead son's clothes, wearing my dead son's skin. Ooh. Ew. Ew. Her face was blank, except the worms. Dozens of them, pale, greedily shaking through his horribly decayed cheeks and forehead. She didn't seem to recognize me, or didn't seem to care. I stood paralyzed, watching as she took the candy, replaced the sheet, and left. I haven't told my wife about any of it, and I hope she doesn't read this. I don't think she knows. Might want to get a divorce just thinking about it. That doesn't seem like something that's legal. I thought it was going to be like a funny twist at the end there. It was my wife. It's like, oh yeah, she doesn't like Halloween. She doesn't like it ever since our son died. But it turns out at the end, she's like, oh, well, I really do like Halloween. You know, I just feel embarrassed, you know. But it had a another level on top of that twist that took me by surprise. Oh, before the last story, I'd like to ask you guys to check out the merch. This is the TWG mug. It's going to look different, so we're going to get new logos. So you can either wait for the new logo, or you can buy the old logo if you want to, because this is the original logo. It's not, I don't own the logo, which is why I wanted to replace it with a logo that I did pay for. And if you want to get this logo TWG mug or any of the shirts with the original logo on it, then go to the link in the description to my Teespring store. So do it before all of the merch is gone. On to the next story. Ooh, this one was posted 2 hours ago. I think I had a paranormal encounter by u/Octopowers. Okay. I think I had a paranormal encounter. I was 12 when my mom was out and my dad was at his work, so I was home, alone. I was in my room and was hearing noises, but we had 2 guinea pigs and a dog, so I thought nothing of it until it got louder and louder. I didn't have a phone at this time, so I was freaked out. I just turned up my TV and tried to forget about it until I heard something outside my room. I ran and locked my door and hid in my closet. I could hear my door nod and rattling. A couple minutes later, it was silent, but my TV was on mute, but it was on full blast. When I went in the closet, I peeked out of my closet door. My door was locked, and there was no way for someone to get in, so how did they mute my TV? I looked under the crack in my door, and nothing was there. I sat there until my mother got home, and she said she locked all the doors before she left. That's spooky. That is not good. Alright guys, hope you guys liked this video, and if you want to check out the merch, link in the description. I forgot to make a Halloween merch, but maybe next year I will. Anyways, get your Christmas merch. Keep checking that, because Christmas merch will be coming soon. It's almost Christmas time. That's crazy. Anyways, have a spooky Halloween, and I'll see all of you in the next video. Bye. It's taco time.